To Watchmen on the Wall. This is the second half of our program, and we're so happy to be here and glad you could be here with us.
Woo! I like that. Thank you. So we're trying to break this guy in over here, but anyhow, we have a new guest with us for our second half, and we're glad to have Corey with us this morning. And Corey resides in the big town of Jonesboro, just down the road. I've learned a little bit about him this morning as we had breakfast together. And I just remind y'all, every Wednesday we meet down at Terry's at 8:30, and anybody's welcome to come. We had about 10 or 11 of us up there this morning and had a good time. And we talk about different things and have a lot of laughs. And I drank about 6 cups of coffee, and we just keep on going and going. So with that, y'all know the people here that's with us, and we'll start out letting you share a little bit about yourself, your family, and where you live and reside, and what you've been doing. So go ahead.
Very good, thank you. Thank you for having me here. My name is Corey Seats. I am from northern Craighead County, out in the country. I live today about 3 miles as the crow flies from the house that my mom and dad brought me home from the hospital to.
Wow.
So I haven't. I moved around a little bit, but I'm still back home, close to home anyway. Went to Brooklyn School District from kindergarten through 12th grade.
So you're a Bearcat.
I'm a Bearcat.
A Bearcat.
I'm a second generation.
Bearcat.
Second generation Bearcat. My dad graduated.
Whoa!
Now my mom graduated from Tech, so you know there is that.
I'm a Bearcat too, but that's what we had in Milford, believe it or not.
Okay.
They smelled it different.
But we're talking about what we are. I'm a Chickasaw.
I'm a bear.
So after I graduated from high school, went to Arkansas State, met a pretty young girl, farmer's daughter from Bono, and we kind of hit it off. And right after graduation, we married, and I took her almost immediately away. Was getting in the Army, so her mom and dad weren't really happy about that at first, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
So I was on active duty with the Army, primarily in Texas, Fort Bliss and Fort Hood. Had the opportunity to leave and go to law school, which is something I thought I wanted to do. And so I left active duty, immediately got in the Arkansas Army National Guard and went to law school. Graduated from University of Arkansas Law School in 1999.
Wow.
And
when the world was coming to an end.
That's
Everybody
right.
thought,
That's right. Y2K. That's
Yeah.
right. We actually had drill with the National Guard on New Year's Day, just in case everything.
In case the world went to
All
an
the
end.
computers quit.
That's right. That's right. We didn't know what was going to happen. So after law school, came back here and quickly realized I wanted to be a prosecutor, and was able.
I can't believe I'm sitting by you now.
Well, that's okay. For about a year and a half, I was a part-time prosecutor.
You don't have handcuffs on you, do you?
I do not have any handcuffs on me.
Good.
But I was a part-time prosecutor in Craighead County for about a year and a half, and then had the opportunity to become a full-time prosecutor. So I took that and did that for right at 20 years until I decided it was time for me to run. Something that I wanted to do. I knew it's kind of where I felt like I was being led. Everything that I've done since I've been an adult has been revolved around service to our citizens, and I felt led that this was the next step.
So when you say led, how do you mean that happens?
I am a Christian,
Yes.
and although I'm not always successful, I always try to, despite myself, that the self that we all have, that we know the best answer.
Yeah.
I look for guidance through prayer and through God's word on what He wants me to do.
Amen.
And you know, throughout the years, I can point to things where, you know, I'm smart, I know the right thing to do.
Yeah, we can all do that.
And then I can look back subsequent to that to see what the fallout was or how things didn't work out.
Mm.
So
Time will tell, doesn't it?
It does, and I have a specific example of that. Back in, I believe it was 2008, there was going to be an election for prosecutor, and I thought I wanted to run. And I was this close to announcing, but something just didn't feel right. And I remember exactly where I was. I was in a chair in our living room, and finally I said, God, I just don't have a peace about this. I don't know. I think I want to run, and it wasn't audible, but it was almost like it was saying, well,
I think all of us can relate.
Yeah.
to this.
Yes, we can.
and so I said, I vividly remember this saying, well, maybe it's not time. And immediately a peace was over me, and I said, there's my answer.
I just gotta say, and I really appreciate that, because I think there could be people looking, and even if people that are looking that know the Lord, you probably know somebody that doesn't know the Lord, and for them to hear that word you just said, people, you can have that. This is what I'm trying to say. People can have that, and by knowing the Lord. So, would you share how you came to know the Lord, your
Sure.
testimony?
I was saved at a young age.
Well, now, when you say saved, what does that mean?
That means I prayed for Jesus to come into my
Amen,
life
amen.
and to be my Lord and Savior.
Amen.
Remember being, I was saved at a young age.
Yeah.
I remember the time.
Yep.
And
Born again.
that's right. Oddly enough, at the time, my family, and I was maybe 6, I think 7. At the time, my family wasn't going to church.
Yeah.
And so, I know looking back, I would have never recognized this back then. But looking back, I recognized God's hand on my life through that entire time.
Sure.
How He protected me. He kept me out of the nonsense that so many of my friends got into. Can't explain why, but He did, and I feel fortunate for that. But fast forward up until I was 19, and my sister and my mom had gotten into church, and then my dad got into church, and so I started going to church. Brother Dr. Stan Ballard was the pastor at Nelton Baptist Church at the time, and I remember realizing something wasn't right, and again, not audible, but all but God was telling me,
Holy Spirit.
you made a decision, but you've not followed me.
Wow.
You need to get right. And so I don't know that we call it necessarily rededication, because I had never really taken that first
Doesn't
step
really matter what you call it.
outwardly, but turned away and made God the Lord of my life.
Amen.
And it's like what he was saying earlier.
Yeah.
And
Praise God.
and like I said, I can go back to time and time again where I think, well, I know what I need to do in this case, and there's just gentle nudge, sometimes not gentle nudge, saying, you're not in charge. I think you are.
I think
but you're
there's
not.
people
And-
that could be watching right now from hearing your testimony, because I just feel the presence of God here with us right now, so strong, because what you just did, may seem easy if you're sitting there watching this, but it's not that easy just to become so transparent and so vulnerable before people.
Right.
You know it in your heart and you don't have a problem with it, but to pour it out, and the Lord uses that. He's using it, I believe, now. If you're listening or hear this, and you can have it. It's simply, maybe you're hearing a voice now that's telling you, wherever you are, that all you have to do is receive the Lord, receive Jesus Christ, because of what He did for you. He gave His life. He lived the perfect, sinless life, and never sinned, and kept all the commandments, by the way, and was crucified unmercifully and wrongly, was buried in the grave for 3 days, and rose victorious over death, hell, and the grave on the third day, which we're about to celebrate, right?
Right.
And if you believe that, the Bible says if you believe that and you will confess it and trust God and receive Him as you did as a child, but then like we hear so many testimonies, and like Brother David said just a little bit ago, that we get saved a lot of times, and then when we do, the enemy knows that. He knows, and so he's going to try to ruin you, or at least keep you away from doing anything really strong for God. But God's big. He's bigger than the enemy, and He comes, He gets a hold of your life in that still small voice. Isn't it amazing? He doesn't have to come and yell at you. He can just come and speak to you, and you realize that this is not me. This is from somewhere else, and you yield to that, and look what He does to your life. And what He's going to do with what He's already done in your life, and what He's got so many plans and a hope in the future. He says in His Word for you, Corey, and it's just amazing, right? What God's going to do. And I appreciate what I was making a little joke earlier about you being a prosecutor, but actually I like the prosecutors because I like the bad guys to go down. I don't like bad guys, and so there is mercy for bad guys, but you need to turn and you need to quit being a bad guy. Amen?
There's a
Every
scriptural,
sin has consequences.
Exactly.
there's a scriptural thing there too, because if you come to Jesus today, He's your attorney, and He'll be your judge if you don't.
Exactly.
So there's a beautiful message in
Amen.
that, and we are fixing to celebrate, and I hope you are, Passover this coming weekend, and we got so many things, and in fact I'm preaching myself on how Jesus was crushed for us, and the three things, the three prayers in Gethsemane in Mark 14. It's amazing to me to begin to understand, and I'm still learning. I learn every day. When you quit learning, you're dead. That's what somebody said.
Yeah.
And God has done so much for us. And folks, we owe Him everything, and we owe Him everything. And there's people out there that don't have a spiritual guidance to help them. That's why we're talking about this.
Yeah.
Because if we had God in our hearts, all of us did, we wouldn't have need for policemen and judges and jails, and people be caring one for another, loving one another. And I know you're talking about a utopia there, which we know is only going to happen in heaven, but we can make this world a whole lot better. And one of the signs, and I heard you talking, and I want you to get into this, as prosecuting attorney, you're over different areas, and I want to know what areas you cover. But the Bible says in the last days there's going to be a great falling away. People are turning away from God, they're turning away from the church, and the only thing left for them is the world. And that's why we're having all these problems, and they're multiplying. And we don't have enough rooms in the jail. That's why they're turning people out. We're trying to keep the ones who I guess are the worst in there. But yet, this is a fight. So what can we do about it here in our own county? What can we do here in the city of Paragould, Jonesboro? As you're running for this office, what are some things that you think that you, and I don't know how far you've went on this, but thoughts that you might have that we can get involved as ministers, as pastors, as churches. In other words, sometimes all a young man needs is a father image or a mother image. So share some of those things and go from there.
Very good. The position that I'm running for is the prosecuting attorney for the 2nd Judicial District. There are 28 judicial districts in Arkansas. We have the largest here. This is the 2nd district. It's the largest in the state, both geographically, but unfortunately in the amount of criminal cases filed each year. At least 4 out of the last 5 years we've led the state. The district is 6 counties. It's Clay, Greene, Craighead, Poinsett, Mississippi, and Crittenden counties. So it's a large area. Touching on what you had talked about, there are types of cases that are I guess in a way, non-negotiable, okay? If you commit murder, if you're a violent offender, if you are a sexual predator, if you are a child predator, I want you prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
That's good.
Okay. But there's a famous saying: we should be, when you're looking at incarceration, we should be locking up people not because we're mad at them, but because we're scared of them. So in other words, the worst of the worst.
Right.
A large portion of our criminal dockets are drug or drug related. Okay.
Right.
Despite what you may see in news reports or other things, the vast majority of our drug offenders, they're not the ones that are filling up the prisons. After they've built up a large number of prior criminal offenses, then there may be some sort of incarceration, but it's like a last resort.
Right.
So the focus for those, in my opinion, and how I've always tried to work as a prosecutor, is there something that we can do to help them help themselves? Because we can't change them on the inside.
No.
We know who can.
Right. Amen.
But they need.
And let me interject, that's why it's really wonderful that you are that person that knows. You're not coming at them, you're not coming prosecuting them as a point of vengeance or anger, but more of, you're kind of coming at it in a sense of mercy.
Right.
What's the best way we can handle this person?
Right. And, in my opinion, the prosecuting attorney is the chief law enforcement officer in the district. Okay. I see the main responsibility of that position being public safety.
Sure.
But public safety doesn't necessarily equal incarceration.
Yeah.
I've got 2 decades worth of experience that will tell you that you can't incarcerate yourself out of the problem that we have,
Right.
or the problems that we have.
Right.
So, for those people that are good people that got involved in something not good, whether it's addiction or oftentimes it's addiction, I'm a big proponent of alternatives for them. We are blessed to have the number of faith-based rehabilitation facilities in this area than we do. I met somebody a few weeks ago who was here in one of our Northeast Arkansas rehab facilities, and they're from Colorado.
Wow.
Because they wanted to be at one that we have here.
Wow.
So we're blessed with those.
Yeah.
We have a long-standing drug court program in the district. It's different in different counties, but we started the first one in Paragould County probably around 2003 or 2004. And we've seen great success through that. We also have a mental health court. Some counties do, not everybody. A mental health court, we have veterans court. Also looking at a pre-adjudication diversion. In other words, opportunities for someone to turn their life around.
That's wonderful. Honestly.
Like I said, you can't incarcerate yourself out of the problem. You can only have so many beds in your department of correction. And I mean, we call it the Department of Correction, but oftentimes when somebody goes to the Department of Correction, unless there's some change in their life, they're not being corrected, we're punishing them. So any opportunity we can give for people to turn their lives around, become productive members of society, that is, in my opinion, public safety.
Yeah, that's good. And some of the things you just hit on, Carter Stitt talked about the fact that, as far as the need for, you didn't say that, but as far as they're talking about even more need for more beds for prison. But the thing is, like he spoke about the same thing, is the people in those are really the hardened people. Mostly you would think the average person, I would have thought that most of the prison would be full of the people like the drug, charges and things, but they're not. And you kind of just confirmed what he had already told us a week ago or so. And so
Well, there's been a big turnaround. Let me tell you, and I'm going to give away my age here. When Ronald Reagan said we're going to declare this war on drugs, and man, everybody says, you know, drugs is an epidemic, we've got to do something about it. When I was going to college shortly thereafter, this would be in mid-90s, and at that time, my paper was the fact that since the war on drugs had been declared, we had doubled the prison population with drug users.
yeah,
That was who we were putting in jail,
Right.
and the taxpayers were paying for that. And obviously, people recognized this, and they said, "We've got to come. We can't put every drug user in jail. We need to give them some treatment programs, and the tax burden is too great, and we're building too many jails. We just need to keep the violent offenders, the ones that are harmful to society, in there." But for a while, that's exactly what we did. We had doubled our prison population, and in a short period of time with just drug users, and then we realized this was not going to get it. And so I think back to what Brother King said, and what Corey had said is right, is where the churches, the pastors, the Christians get involved in some of these rehabs. They're everywhere. Get involved, make mentors. You pour yourself into them. You encourage them to turn their life around. And like I said, I realized that eventually, I'm 25 years in law enforcement. You have the drug user. Well, he's got to support that habit, and it's an expensive habit. So pretty soon he's stealing. And you got him down to doing petty thefts. Pretty soon he may be into burglary or breaking into your house to get stuff. So he's going to end up going to prison over this. Or they're going to go the other route, which is they sell drugs to pay for the drugs they're using. And obviously we can't have, we have to punish lawbreakers, but if we can cut that whole vicious circle off at the user stage, if we can get them to see that there is a better life out there, and I think the only one that changes us, that can change us, is Christ.
Amen.
So I believe what you asked about, that's exactly where we can do it. And we're our church is doing that. You guys are helping me do that, and so we're excited about that. But I think we need more of it, and that would help. And we hit on a point: the prison overcrowding. They're wanting to build some more now, and like I said, and we used to all think, well, that's because of all these drug users. No, these are violent criminals that they're trying to keep in.
Right.
And that's a tax burden. That's another cost. I don't know, but we can't let them just roam freely because there'll be more people killed. And I think that's part of the problem we're having with some issues like coming over the border. We got who knows who coming over that border down there, violent criminals, and so. But anyway, so we got caseloads are getting heavier, population's growing, more people in jail. Talk a little bit about that.
Sure. I'm kind of maybe it's part of it's my military background, but I'm a statistics and the numbers guy. So I always like to look at metrics. Are we doing a good job? How can we do a better job? And over the last 10 years or so, our felony case filings have almost doubled in this district.
Wow.
Okay.
That's crazy.
In 2013, there were around 600 criminal cases filed in Greene County. Last year, there was over 1,000. It's like a 75% increase in Greene County.
With 1,000 of them, of this big increase, and keep in mind, we were still in COVID pretty heavy.
Correct.
That's got to be hard to do. I've seen how the court work in COVID not well.
Right. Absolutely. There were a number of months during the pandemic in Craighead County, and I kind of traveled around between different counties and different courthouses, but in Craighead County, court for a large portion of 2020 during the pandemic was on tables like this, the back door of the courthouse, where the people that had court would come in. We would, stay a distance with gloves and masks.
Right.
They would sign a scheduling order and they would leave, and we wouldn't see them for another 3 months. We were just trying to get along.
Can down the road.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so numbers increased, dockets increased to the point where they're almost unmanageable with the amount of assets that we have in the district. I said that our district, the second district, for the last 5 years have filed more felony criminal cases than any other district in the state. That includes the 6th district, which is Pulaski County. They have, I believe, 17 judges. They have 46 deputy prosecutors in that district. We have 11 judges and 23 deputy prosecutors, and we've got more than they do. In Greene County last year, there were about 60 days that were set on the court calendar for trying cases. In those 60 days, assuming that your average jury trial could be done in 2 days, some will take longer, some you might be able to get through in a day, but just for the sake of argument, 2 days per, that meant that in Greene County you could try 30 jury trials for felony cases. You remember how many I said that there were? There was 1,049.
Right.
So what happens to the other 1,019? Okay. Not to mention the fact that when you come to court and there are 350, 400, 1,000 cases on your docket, how many are you really prepared for? So bottom line is we are still dealing with an infrastructure that we used 10 years ago when we had half as many cases. So we've got to change how we approach this, both in how cases are assigned, how cases are dealt with. The Arkansas Public Defenders Commission has said that 150 cases, defendants, is probably a good number for a full-time public defender. The American Bar Association gives a similar number, that an attorney should try to not have more cases than 150. There was a time.
150 for like a year?
Well, at one time. 150 cases. There was a time a little over a year ago, about a year ago, where I probably had 1,200.
That's crazy.
Absolutely. So we need to reevaluate how we our offices are arranged, how we set court dates, how we deal with criminal cases.
Is there a shortness of attorneys?
Like private attorneys, defense attorneys, the majority of the defendants in your criminal cases will be represented by the public defender's office. I'm sure that they would say they could use some more public defenders. As a general rule, there are more public defenders than there are prosecutors in the district, as a general rule.
Well, how do we get more people to help deputy prosecutors and judges? Do we need more judges as well?
Then you get more judges and you say, I need more courtrooms. Greene County has, in my opinion, the nicest courthouse in the district, and I've been to them all. It's very well set up, it's very well laid out, it's a beautiful courthouse, and it's fantastic for a jury trial. Unfortunately, many of our other counties aren't quite so well set. So, and even in Craighead County, it would be hard to have more than one trial going on at one time.
Wow.
So, yeah, you can. I don't want. The easy way is to say, well, we throw more money at the problem and we'll fix it. Well, no, that's not necessarily fixed. Obviously, more money would help, but there are some things that we can do now just by reevaluating how we set our court calendar that can help.
Seems like it'd be a good idea to rent some churches. They have a perfect place for it.
True. And as we were coming out of the pandemic, there were some churches that were used, at least for jury selection. Maybe not for the actual trial, but they were used. Seems like there was something else that I was going to address, though, on what you were talking about. It's not just money, and this is not something that is only a problem here in Northeast Arkansas. The governor recently signed a bill that's going to provide at least some short-term help for the prosecutors and the public defenders because of this backlog that, in large part, was because of courts being shut down for a year because of the pandemic. It's temporary. We'll see how that works.
Well, you got a good point too. You said the majority of them are these public defenders, and we need to emphasize for the people listening, that means they're not paying for their attorney. The taxpayers are paying for their attorney. And to do that, they have to qualify. They have money, they have assets. They have to, to use their stuff first. But that kind of gives us a picture of what the majority of our taxpayer dollars are used, and what I mean, they're not, they don't have a means to do it. Probably why they're committing some of the crimes.
Correct.
How many on percentage, let's say, plea bargains?
99%.
99%.
When I was in law enforcement, I used to always hate it that they would plea bargain all the cases out. I thought, man, give them more time, And then I got to talking to the prosecutor, and I said, why do y'all do that? And he said, well, so let's say this Joe Smith here, he got in trouble, and he's going to take a plea bargain. Well, he's going to only do so much time or be on probation or whatever, as long as he doesn't mess up again. If he messes up again, this is going to come on him. So there's incentive there to get him to turn his life around. And when you look at it that way, that's a big picture view. It's not just about this particular crime. It's not just because, he stole your lawnmower. It's more about getting him to not be a career criminal.
Second chances is amazing.
Right, yeah. And so, and then knowing that, it made better sense to them too, because it kind of gets them on the hook where they're going to have to straighten up. And if they don't, all this time is going to come on them along with whatever new charges they get. So that's people, just for the people out there that were like me that didn't know that. And so the plea bargain is a useful tool. It's very good to keep those court cases down and gets them going through a lot quicker. And a lot of times it's all it takes to give somebody a second chance to turn their life around. And then other times it's the one that hangs them.
Right. And over the last year, going around throughout the district and meeting folks and telling them about me and that I was running, I've had several folks, and this has been the best part of running for this office. Several times I've had people come up to me from a crowd. I'll see them walking up, they'll walk up to me and they'll say, "You don't remember me." Well, I said, "Uh-oh."
Yeah.
You don't remember me, but I remember you.
Oh, yeah.
And the story always goes something like this. You don't remember me, but I remember you. You prosecuted me 4, 6, 9 years ago. And you saw something in me that maybe I didn't see myself. And you worked out a deal with my lawyer where I got to go to this rehab, or I got to go through a drug court.
That's good.
And I wanted to come up and tell you, thank you, and that I've now been clean for however many years.
Right.
I love hearing those stories.
Amen. I would too.
I love hearing those stories. Rarely do you have somebody come up and say, "You prosecuted me 7 years ago and you sent me to prison for 6 years. Thank you." You don't hear that very often.
It's like on the old Andy Griffin show when the guy comes, says he wants to meet him, and he put him in jail, and
That's right.
he brings him a gun.
Shotgun.
Marty thinks to go to come kill him, but he was bringing him a gift.
That's right.
It's hard to. Well, here's another question. This is one I'm sure that everybody would be interested in knowing. Across America, we have a very, very bad immigrant situation. Do we have a lot of immigrants in prison in Arkansas? Do we have a lot turned loose? Do we have a lot of cases?
I don't know what the percentage is. At least in this district, it wasn't a very large proportion of the docket, any docket that I ever had. There would be a few, generally you might have one or two illegal aliens, whatever, undocumented, whatever we want to call them, folks that weren't American citizens and weren't here legally. There would be one or two on my docket. But I didn't see many of them at the time. Of course, every day we have more and more coming across the border, so I don't know how long that will be the case.
So we have future we got a lot of things going on, don't we, in America?
You know, again, back whenever I was in law enforcement, we would get, every now and then, we get someone who is an illegal alien here that, you know, a lot of times they come over to work the farms or whatever, you know, and they get a DWI or do whatever, and so, at one time, we were told, by Border Patrol, you call us and we'll come get them. And then we'd call them and they wouldn't come get them.
Right.
You know, and then there's the other thing, do we really want them to come get them? Because if they're just gonna take them down there and release them, they'll be back here tomorrow, and they should be in jail for the DWI or whatever it was they did. So it's a really, touchy situation there. And of course I realize they're limited on what their abilities, and I know this too, with, the Homeland Security, the way they grew their department was they added them to Border Patrol. And they claimed they added all these people to it, but really they just combined them together. The air marshals and all just got all thrown in one big pot, and it made it look like a lot larger, but they didn't increase their numbers. They were way overworked. So you know, I want to give them credit for doing the best job they can. But with what we're having now, that's only going to get worse. And I don't know, as a prosecutor, I mean, really, do you want them to come get them, or do you want to keep them in jail? I mean, because we don't want them back out here tomorrow doing the same thing. It's a difficult, and with an open border, if they take them, they'll be right back.
Right. And we did see that as well. I think it would depend on the seriousness of the case. If they're charged with a violent offense,
Right.
then CBP, Homeland Security, whoever, they can come deal with them once the state of Arkansas is done with them.
Right.
If they were picked up with a small amount of drugs, then
Right.
oftentimes, if they weren't here legally, there would be a hold on them, and so we might try to figure out something to move the case and
Right.
then release them to Homeland Security, CBP.
Well, we know we've had some cases, and I like your point about if it's a violent crime, you know, because we've had cases where you hear the story about the illegal alien that's here. He's been convicted on several other violent crimes, and now he's killed somebody or raped somebody or both. And so they're like, well, how does that keep happening? Sorry about that. But that's the problem. That's exactly the thing. You know, we want to ship them out, but on the other hand, we don't want them free,
Right.
because they're going to come right back and hurt somebody. If not here, hurt somewhere else. You know. But so yeah, I don't know how are we looking on time? Are we got much time left? Is there anything else you wanted to talk about before we wrap up? I don't know what all you know. Even in law enforcement, I don't know what the prosecutor's office. Those are specific issues you'd know more about.
I have a couple of things that I want to bring up. First of all, if I don't acknowledge the rest of my family, I'll be in
There
trouble.
you go. Yeah.
I talked about my wife. I have two wonderful kids as well. I have a daughter who is 21, and she is junior, almost a senior at Arkansas State, pre-med major. And then I have a son who is 15, and he is a third generation. Well, my daughter was as well, but he's at Brooklyn as well. And so they're fantastic kids. I couldn't be more proud of them. God bless me. You know, you hear folks that say, I'm paying for my raising. I never was in trouble, but I've certainly been blessed. I've not paid for my raising, that's for sure. I guess just to kind of sum things up, like I said, I've got 2 decades of experience as a deputy prosecutor in the district, prosecuting in every county that we have. I have almost 30 years of experience in leadership and management through the military. One thing that's, you know, obviously when you have the position of prosecuting attorney, you want them to understand how to try a case, you know, because they're gonna be in court and they're gonna make arguments, and they need to know that. But in a district this size, with the amount of cases that we have, what you need is a prosecutor who knows how to manage people, how to lead people, how to manage a budget. Okay, I have I have, like I said, 2 decades of experience as a prosecutor trying cases. I've taught young prosecutors how to try cases. I teach law enforcement officers about search and seizure and the Constitution, what they can and what they can't do. But also, I have almost 30 years of leadership. I've commanded at every level from platoon to regiment. I've been responsible for $1 million budgets and millions of dollars worth of equipment. And because of all of those things together, I think I'm the person for the job. I think that God's put me here at this point. Not that I had to run, not that, some folks might even say, somebody said this morning, why in the world did you decide to do that? I felt like I was led to do it.
That's what I was going to say. That's where we started, wasn't it?
That's right. And everything that I've done, didn't know it at the time, I know it now looking back, has pointed me to this exact position on this day. And so that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
And I appreciate your consideration, appreciate your vote. I've heard several folks, he said it, you've said it, 2 of the most important jobs, elected positions that our citizens should inform themselves about are sheriff and prosecutor. Okay? So everyone that's watched this, they've heard from me, they've heard about me. I have a website, I have a Facebook page. I have a wide open personal Facebook page. I'm an open book. Look me up. Look up everybody that's running. Know what they stand for. Know what their positions are on the issues. The people of our district deserve that.
Yeah.
This is not something that, it's not about me, it's about the people. It's about service to the people and about community safety. Mm-hmm. And so the citizens deserve the best person.
Yeah, I agree with that. For sure.
All right, we're glad that you tuned in today to Watchmen on the Wall. It's been a joy having you with us, Corey, and I'll probably come up with a lot more questions after you're gone. But
Absolutely.
anyhow, are you going to be able to be at our meet candidates on the 5th of May?
I believe I am.
So
Yes, sir.
we're going to be having a meet candidates out at the Reynolds Park at the community center out there. And we got about 23 people signed up right now. That's local, county, and state. And you can come and shake their hands, talk to them, and get acquainted with them. It's open to everybody. Make sure you bring me some money. We're going to have tacos and nachos and food for sale.
Are we sure on that date? Because I think May the 5th is Cinco de Mayo and National Day of Prayer.
Well, National Day of Prayer might be Thursday. That's the 5th, and the
Right.
6th is the day. That's
6th is the
5th will be at the Westview
Right,
Baptist Church for National Day of Prayer. And I should know that.
Well, I just was thinking about that. I said, I think that's the wrong day. So it'll be that weekend, though.
It'll be that weekend.
Right.
And folks, I've got so much going. I'm surprised I don't know where I'm at right now. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But we're glad that you tuned in, and feel free to contact him on Facebook. Give him a call. He'll be glad to talk with you. And thank you for watching. And if you don't got anything else to do, stay tuned. We're going to be doing Hillbilly Hebrew here in just a minute, and have a good time with that. So God bless you. Have a great day. We'll see you next Wednesday right here, Watchmen on the Wall, Paragould.